Oh yeah, hear all that horsepower. So this may look like a stock 64 Impala, but this one's built Ford tough. But first, I'm going to give you a hint as what might be under the hood. Let me give you a little backstory as to why I built this car. When I started on this car, I was about 22 years old working in a salvage yard, and I drove a Ford Ranger at the time and loved it. I also had a junk Ford Ranger down there, and I knew the cost to restore this car would be astronomical. Barely working back during the recession, it just seemed like a good idea back then to stick the Ford Ranger drivetrain in here. Back then, I couldn't do much as far as wiring the car, so I did the only thing I knew how to do, which was to fabricate the brackets to put the steering column in and the instrument cluster, and put everything in that car that the Ford Ranger needed. This is a 1998 Ford Ranger 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. Fuel injection, everything on this car is pretty much out of a Ford Ranger. The frame, you can see, has been cut and welded right there. Same thing back over there. So it's got the front suspension out of a 2000 Ford Ranger. Got the power brake booster, the rear ABS, windshield wiper motor, so I'll have variable speed. So the custom pedal brackets I made out of an automatic Ford Ranger bracket because they're steel versus the manual ones are aluminum. And I had to mix and match the two, weld a custom made bracket on the side. And the gas tank is an air tank that I cut the ends off of, squished the sides down and welded some flat ends on it, and made a recess in there to put the Ford Ranger fuel pump. I needed a Ford Ranger rear end because in '98 they did not put a speed sensor on the manual transmissions. They only had the sensor on the rear end. And the 64 Impala has an X-frame with the drive shaft going through the very center of the car. So there's no way to run an offset rear end like Ford Ranger. So to get the center drive shaft on this, I had to cut the rear end and take two long axles and fabricate all the bracketry. A lot went into the build of this, but I built this thing for probably around $1,200. I didn't put much any money into it, and it's just been a fun and had been reliable car for a while, but it kind of hasn't been drove much in 4 years.